According to the NCAA, 35% of elite athletes suffer from mental health issues, which is about 1 in every 3 athletes.
I think that the most well-known cases regarding mental health with athletes in 2021 was probably Simone Biles withdrawing from the Olympics and Naomi Osaka withdrawing from the French Open.
These two events were very similar but also had their differences. To start, Simone Biles is a 24-year-old 4-time Olympic gold medalist gymnast. In the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, she withdrew herself from the individual all-around competition as well as the team finals, announcing she wasn't in the right headspace to compete. This caused outrage from many.
This is very, very similar to Naomi Osaka's situation, but it was a little bit different. It was similar in the fact that they were both about 24 at the time and they were very successful in their careers. Naomi Osaka had already won 4 Grand Slams. In May 2021, Osaka was supposed to compete in the French Open, being the second best singles player, but she announced after an interview that she would be withdrawing so she could work on her mental health. People were obviously very shocked and very disappointed in her after that.
These withdrawals caused much controversy among sports fans, but really among everyone.
Yeah, and with that came a lot of backlash, especially on social media.
Yeah, considering people's reactions, it's clear Simone Biles made a huge decision to remove herself from competing. It honestly takes a lot of strength from her and awareness to realize that competing wasn't safe and it wasn't in her best interest. Dealing with the psychological stress is a major part in basically every sport, but for Biles, it was amplified because of her circumstance. The New York Times says that millions of people were expecting her to win the all-around gold medal. That's a lot of pressure, and they all thought that she was betraying her team when they needed her the most. This pressure would get to anyone, and in the end, it became unbearable for Biles. According to Vatz and Scaler in the magazine Mind Games, instead of using the term mental health to explain Biles' experience, we should use self-efficacy.
And what does self-efficacy mean?
It is an individual's belief in his or her capacity to execute behaviors, or basically their confidence in themselves. Social scientists feel the term mental health or mental illnesses is derogatory. Biles had the strength and confidence to trust herself in this situation and rather than listen to the voices and thoughts of others. I know that Biles' decision was not easy. Every day, people judge others for their decisions, even when they don't have a right to. And in Biles' situation, everyone in the world was judging her. No one really knows what she was going through, and it isn't fair that people were so quick to judge her. Instead of disapproving of Biles' choices, we should praise her for being a great example for other athletes and having the courage to put herself first.
Yes, this is also the case with Naomi Osaka, which is the other major example of mental health within the athletes this year. So she basically withdrew after her first big match, and she was also fined for missing a press conference before she officially withdrew. So she was already kind of stressed and not in the right headspace. She withdrew and apologized in an interview, then publicly claimed her withdrawal on Instagram as well. She said that, "I think now the best thing for me in the tournament, the other players, and my well-being is that I withdraw so everyone can go back to focusing on the tennis going on in Paris." She stated she has been struggling with depression for years. I think it was 2018 she said she started having depression. And even though she doesn't have a team that this hurt, I think that it did hurt the overall competition, as she said. And people defined it as unfortunate.
How do you feel about this?
Something I don't think a lot of people took into account was that her ability to stand up for herself and put mental health first is really inspiring for younger athletes who may feel the same pressure to always play no matter what, and I think that's really important. And actually, when I was researching this, I came across the American Psychology Association, and discussion around mental health in sports reduces its stigma, according to a sports psychologist, because so many people look highly at athletes as celebrities and look at what they're doing and model what they're doing, which is, I think, really applicable to Osaka's and Biles' situation. I personally really value others' mental health and my own, so I think Osaka's decision was actually more brave and necessary than disappointing, and that you should never put your health, mental or physical, over other people's entertainment.
I guess considering all this, the real question is, were these decisions selfish?
And the other good question is, should these athletes feel guilty about putting their mental health first? In reality, anyone struggling with mental health or who is an athlete in general would know how difficult it is to have that amount of pressure on you.
Biles and Osaka were able to handle this pressure in very respectable ways. They both risked much criticism for the betterment of their team as well as young athletes that look up to them.